Folks, midweek edition of College Sports Now. I'm Stephen Hartzell. He is Wayne Cook. Phil Steele is going to join the program in about 30 minutes to run through all of the Week 2 games, including whatever the hell else Wayne wants to talk about.
Not a great week. Come on.
I'm not willing to go there, Wayne.
There's some good games, but there's some dog crud, too.
I've waited a long time to watch college football. I'm not going to let you tell me that the Week 2 slate is not good because we've only had football for like 9 days.
It's fine.
Speaking of which, I don't know about you, but Tuesday for me felt like I was going through like a little bit of like withdrawals, you know, like we had 5 days of college football and then
they spread out
away.
Yeah, and Steven, they spread out some really good games. Like, I mean, I absolutely loved the Notre Dame game. That was so much fun to watch. I mean, I enjoyed every single second of that.
Well, that was some Sunday night action. Monday night, we know what happened with TCU and North Carolina.
Still kind of fun.
I mean, it was fun if you like to root for things that are, you know,
I kind of did.
If you like stopping by slowing down on the highway to check out the car crash on the side of the road. It was a tough scene.
Yeah.
So here's what we got today. I know Wayne's got takes, so we'll preheat the oven. We'll fire up the air fryer, and whatever Wayne's got on his mind, we will let that go here in just a little bit. We're going to minimize the UCLA talk because, as we all know and as we all saw, Wayne, it got late early.
Utah is
at the
good,
Rose
though.
Bowl.
Oh, it did.
Utah's very good. Devon
Utah's
Dampier,
not competing for their conference championship. I would be shocked. That O-line was awesome.
They were
quarterback,
good
awesome. But
they were
I don't want to talk about it either.
Good.
I'm scarred.
We're not going to. We are going to talk quarterbacks today. I gave Wayne some homework. I'm going to have him hand out some grades just like he's back in the classroom trying to teach the youth about, you know, things other than college football. But we are going to hand out some grades. Nico Iamaleava will not be graded today. Okay, we're gonna hold off on that. Wayne, the jury is out. It's an incomplete as far as Nico is concerned.
They didn't get the ball very much.
Well, no, he
Utah
didn't.
Utah had a 21-play drive.
Utah, do you know what Utah's third down conversions were off the top of your head without looking it up?
Like 125%.
They were 14 of 16.
I know.
For the game.
I watched it.
I know, you were there. You had a front row seat. So, again, look, we don't need to rehash all that.
I talked crap on the Jumbotron before the game to the Utah people about how we whooped them in the trenches.
No.
I was given my keys to the game, and I did it on the screen before the game, and I'm right in front of all the Utah people facing another direction.
Wayne.
And I said something along the lines of, because I started talking about, hey, this game's always won in the trenches because it's Utah. I was trying to be nice, and they started booing me. And I said, well, you know, the last time you were here, we kind of whooped your butts in the trenches.
No.
And
really?
I had
live?
to do it.
These were live
it was
keys
live.
to the game? These weren't
live,
taped or pre-recorded?
Live on the Jumbotron. You know I can't not react to the people.
Wayne, they're never going to run that feature again.
You know. Yeah,
That's it.
Oh, I didn't pump the team up. I was just saying what happened. So anyway, it was a fun little thing I did, but I can't help it. I just got to react to the people. I get my athletic side of me kind of perks up and I get fired up. And yes, I did say that right in front of all of them.
Couldn't
and
help
you know
yourself.
what? You know what happened to me at the end? I left the stadium feeling like an idiot, and they were laughing all the way home.
Yeah, for those that didn't stay up, we talked about it a little bit on the Tuesday show with Roddy. Utah put it on.
Utah's legit. That quarterback Dampier is really good.
Yeah, Devon Dampier might be the real deal. Utah has a quarterback for the first time in a long time, and
that's not fair. Cam Rising, when he was healthy, led him to 2 Rose Bowls.
Wayne, that was 4 years ago. I
mean,
he's
you
been
said it
holding
a
that
long
program
time.
hostage for a long time. I'm just saying,
I know you're young, but long time is more than 4 years.
All right, 43-10. Utah handled their business in a big way. Wayne, I got text messages from you on Saturday about Arch. We did not talk a ton about Texas and Ohio State on the Tuesday show with Roddy, but I'm going to let you empty the clip here because I know you watched a lot of quarterback play over the weekend. Some good, some bad, some ugly. So you steer the ship, buddy. What you want to talk about?
I'm going to empty the clip first by talking about something that's bothering me a lot. So we're looking at, like, as a teacher, I'm in the era of there's always something new and better technology-wise. So if your kids are in the classroom, and I know, Stephen, you're going to be watching your kids go through, and they're already on screens enough. They're coming up with more and more information about how these screens are altering our young people's minds.
Sure.
They're using technology for so much now, like even like the commercials out there. You want to decorate your dorm? AI has something for it. You want to do so the creativity of people doing things their own way. I feel like we're losing it. The idea that, and there's going to be a comparison here because I watch. I'm still fighting the good fight. I still lecture. I still talk to the kids. I still do things kind of the old-fashioned way, and I take a lot of crap for it. And I feel like, these kids are already staring at screens enough, and more and more and more. I'm going to kind of compare this, though, because I don't think we're going in the right direction. I don't think kids are necessarily smarter than they were 15, 20 years ago. And I also think that their attention spans are, like, unbelievably weak. And when I say they, I don't mean everybody. So if you're a parent out there of a straight-A student and you've raised them right and you limit their screen time and you do all the things you're supposed to do, I'm just talking about as a whole. So my comparison is kids transferring at very young ages to play for winners. 7-on-7 being such a big deal. Everybody is going down this road that we have problems because on social media and on the internet, all you see is guys throwing the ball sidearm, guys throwing off platform. That was a phrase that was never even used when I was young.
Right.
This off platform thing is now you watch quarterback gurus and all they're doing is coaching guys that throw off platform. And what's killing me, and this is my comparison to school, is the more I watch this, the more I come to grips that the fundamentals still matter. In school, you still need to learn how to write. You can't use ChatGPT for everything. You still have to learn how to think and focus and critical. You said something about critical thinking to me off the air. Like, we have to be able to create opportunities for kids to learn how to do things right. And man, then they soar. Then you can be more individualistic because you have the basics down. And I feel like we're jumping too far ahead all the time. So when I watch quarterbacks, and I watch a lot of them, holy cow, can anybody step into a throw? Like, if you could see me, like, if you're watching this, and this is terrible, but when a quarterback throws, your toe should point towards your target, right? You bring your arm, you tuck it in, and when you throw the football and you release, your finger that comes off the ball last, if you know how to throw a football, should be pointed at your target. You should finish going forward. People are shooting fadeaway three-point shots as passers. Like, I loved watching TCU's, is it Josh Hoover last night?
Yes, sir.
He had a very good game. He looked like a really good quarterback, but I still caught him throwing off his back foot when he doesn't have to. It's Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. Those two guys are like the new way. You ever watch Patrick Mahomes? Does he ever throw the ball going forward? He always is fading away. It's like he's afraid to get hit. They don't even let defensive linemen hit quarterbacks like they used to, and yet we have a generation that won't step into a frickin' throw and take one in the chin. They can't hit you in the chin. It's a penalty. So take one for the team. Step into your throws. So I don't know if you saw this, but there's a very funny meme or something that someone posted, and you know how you tease me about being an Uncle Rico. Yes. I know you've seen this, where they show the Arch Manning throw where his feet are atrocious. They're sideways, and he's throwing this sidearm pass, and then they go to Uncle Rico throwing and hitting Napoleon Dynamite on the bike, and I couldn't stop laughing.
With the steak. With the steak.
But then I'm sitting there and I'm watching the game live, and I'm going, listen, we didn't know a lot about Arch. We had seen him play where he was a runner. The two games that, I'm going to be honest, the two games that he started in were not good games because they were against opponents they were going to kill. And so now that I got to see full action against a legit defense, his fundamentals were atrocious. So to the quarterback gurus and all these people teaching arm angle and all this stuff and getting all excited about it, how about we start watching the two greatest quarterbacks of the last 20 years? Why don't we start watching Peyton Manning and Tom Brady? Your young people are never going to lose their athleticism. That's God-given. They can run around. They learn to run away from people day one. All you high school coaches that tell your quarterbacks to make one read and then run, all you college coaches that do that, it's sickening. Teach them to play the position right. And if you don't know how to do that, find YouTube videos of really good people that know how to coach it and tell them to watch it. Every quarterback should learn a 3, 5, 7-step drop from under center. They should know how to do play action. They should know that when you run out and square and when you get on the edge on a sprint out, you don't just flip it sidearm. Your odds of throwing an inaccurate pass are extremely high. You square your shoulders, run towards the target, and again, follow through towards the target. Now, you're thinking right now, old man shakes, clouded fist. You guys, it's how you throw. Could you imagine pitchers doing their windup and like falling backwards as they're throwing the ball towards home plate? That would be stupid. They step toward their target. Now, yes, some throw sidearm and some do other things. But if you have good fundamentals, it is unbelievably helpful. Why do you think the two quarterbacks I just mentioned were still really good when they were like 40 years old?
HGH in the case of one of them.
Why do you think that a guy who's the Browns quarterback, right, Joe Flacco, why do you think a guy like that can still play and be a starter? Now, you're going to say because he's on a bad team. No. It's because he has great fundamentals. It kills me. And if you guys watch, I'm sitting there watching this and I'm going, how the heck did a Manning have such a sidearm throwing motion? By the way, when there's nobody around him. And did you see how inaccurate he was in that game? Now, will he have games where he gets better? And he will. But if someone doesn't teach him to step into his throws and get his arm up a little bit, he's always going to struggle with accuracy. Because the follow-through is not correct and his feet aren't correct. So, like, to me, I mean, he played a really good team. There's a lot of quarterbacks out there that are sitting there feeling good about themselves because they scored 1 million points against nobody, like teams that you've never heard of before. He played against a really good team and a really elite defense. Like, if you watch that game, I know I'm going crazy right now, but if you watch the game, Texas, and I want you to ask Felder about this on Friday, Texas and Ohio State secondaries were ridiculous.
Yeah, those receivers weren't open.
They weren't, which is why when they were, because remember, this is a 7-point game.
Yeah.
There were some plays that were there, and his footwork let him down. So that's all I'm saying. I like Arch as a human. I can tell, but I watched his fundamentals, and I went, "How did this happen?"
So let me drill down on this because Arch didn't forget how to play quarterback. Sark didn't forget how to draw plays. Like we're gonna see. They're
going to win a lot of games.
Right. We're going to see Arch the next couple of weeks against Sisters of the Poor go out there and do the things that we expected him to do. I guess some people expected him to do it on Saturday. I'm not one of those people. I think Ohio State's a really good football team, as you mentioned. Those guys are on scholarship too, as the saying goes. And now, but here's my question.
He was the number one Heisman Trophy. I mean, you guys
blah, blah, blah. Sure,
okay.
Fine.
Will you please admit that when we talk about preseason rankings and how stupid they are?
Sure. So here's
same thing.
Wayne. Here's my question, buddy. Was it mental on Saturday at the Horseshoe? This guy on the first play of the game skipped a pass to a wide open receiver 10 yards away.
I'm trying to tell you it's not. Go back and watch the film and look at his fundamentals.
Okay.
You're going to have games when you have flawed fundamentals where your release is perfect.
Okay.
That's the flaw. When you have a certain release that's good and your body is intact, you're going to have days where you're throwing wobblers, you're throwing ducks, but they're still going to go in the direction you're aiming. When you change your arm angle, it makes it to where the release point has to be perfect. When your kids start playing baseball, if they do.
Oh, we got 2 baseball players right now, buddy.
You're going to learn this. Once they decide they want to start pitching and stuff, their arm position is going to kill you. They're going to drop it too low, which is going to make the ball sail. They're going to lower it down, which is going to make it to where, like I said, they have to release it. Like they're going to pull it and throw it left all the time. You have to be perfect, but when your arm is following through straight towards your target, your misses are going to be high and low. But when you're coming from the side, your misses are everything. High, low, left, right. It just brings so many variables into play. I'm going to read this quote from a guy you know I like, and Kurt Warner. He said, "I've said it and will continue to say it. No matter how talented you are, if you don't lead with your feet, you will miss. I see it in the NFL every week with greats, even in the greats." And he mentioned Patrick and Aaron. It makes you inconsistent. You've got to learn. And he also talked about later in what he was talking about, he talked about people with really quick arms that throw everything hard, and it's totally disassociated from their body. Like your body needs to be in sync when it can be when you're throwing. Now, I say when it can be because, again, your athletic ability is not going away.
Right.
Your athletic ability will always be there. So when you have to throw it sidearm, you still can. When you have to throw a pass when you're running one way and you can't square your shoulders, you still can. It kills me how many quarterbacks have bad fundamentals. So I'm giving Arch like a C, and I'm only giving him a C because he played against a really good team, the team that deserves to be number one in the nation right now. They were number one last year, and they won a big game week 1. And I actually would give Julian Sand a much higher grade. I liked his fundamentals a lot more.
Well, let's not spend the entire show talking about Arch, Wayne.
I'm done.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Instead of teaching history, maybe you should be coaching. Like maybe you should maybe
well,
you need to go to your bathroom tonight, look in the mirror after you splash some cold water on your face and some Old Spice aftershave, because I know you're the only person who still buys that stuff.
Well,
and literally look yourself in the mirror and be like, I need to be coaching.
I was born to be a teacher, but listen, before we get carried away.
Teach on the field between the lines.
I just hope. I know. I just hope that people listen. I want Arch to be amazing. I want Josh Hoover to be amazing. Well, be careful.
Is.
So no, listen to me though. He already is based on his NIL money.
No,
he already is because the star's next to his name, but he still hasn't proven it at that level yet.
Okay.
You can't say that.
Okay.
So
when
I watch some other
career starts. That's fine.
My whole thing is I always look at these kids. They have aspirations to play in the NFL.
Sure.
And the one thing I know about the NFL, like myself, I had too long of a throwing motion. I had bad knees and a bad arm that were hurt all the time. That kind of stuff limits you. But when you're good at the fundamentals of the sport and you can stay healthy, when you get the ball out on time, you throw on rhythm, you know how to read defenses, you're accurate. We underestimate so much. I'll give you another example. We'll go all the way back to Dylan Raiola. And it's cracking me up that the guy has a wide open receiver. I think we talked about this last week, and our guy Roddy Jones and the play-by-play guy were talking about how great of a throw it was. There was nobody within 10 yards of the guy, and he had to fall down to catch it. I'm like, just because he throws it hard and looks cool doesn't mean it's a good throw. Go back and watch, and I'm going to pick a Bruin, but go back and watch a guy like Troy Aikman or Tom Brady. They always threw balls that guys could catch and run. Go back and watch the great Warren Moon spin it. Oh, my gosh. That guy could absolutely rip it, and guys caught it and kept going. That's the goal when a guy's wide open. You're supposed to be the best of the best of the best. Don't make guys catch it and fall down when there's no one around them. Throw a slant if you're Steve Young to Jerry Rice and let him catch it and take it to the house. That's your job. So when you talk about a Manning and you say how great he's going to be, I could say, okay, sure, but I need to see better fundamentals, and I hope these coaches out there can start actually coaching guys to do this the correct way. Okay. Julian Sand.
Julian Sand. Do you feel better?
I do.
Are you more relieved, or are you more angry than you were when we started this thing 15 minutes ago?
No, because I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated in how much I see of this. I'm blown away with how many quarterbacks throw off their back foot. I'm blown away how many quarterbacks drop their arm down. Like you said, we weren't going to talk about Nico Iamaleava. One of his flaws, and he had this flaw at Tennessee too, is his arm drops. When he's throwing some of the deep routes, he throws across the field and he sails the ball. He throws them too high.
Overthrew a lot of guys Saturday night.
He does that, and part of it's because of the fundamentals of he drops his arm down. So it's an issue. So anyway, we're 2 down. I'm going to give Julian Sand an A because, first of all, that Texas defense was – by the way, could Texas or Ohio State have won this game?
Sure.
Would you argue that this is a little bit like when Ohio State last year went to Oregon and lost?
Sure.
And they still won it all. So Texas is still in it. I think Arch is going to be fine because they're going to be more talented than almost everybody they play, and I think they'll get better. I think his arm angle is not going to be something that's fixed right now, but the coach should be talking to him about his feet. Don't be lazy with your feet. Just don't trust your arm talent. Snap your feet around. And I think if he does that, watch Drew Brees. There's another great one. His feet were amazing. Drew Brees was really good about keeping his feet underneath him.
His feet had to be great, Wayne. He was 5'7". Okay?
Yeah, but that's okay. It doesn't mean I've said this all the time. The shorter quarterbacks tend to have better feet, and the big quarterbacks tend to rely on their arms too much.
Sure.
And a lot of times that hurts them. But I saw a lot that I liked from Julian Sand.
So you're giving the freshman at Ohio State. You're giving him an A, and Arch gets a C. All right, let's go. Let's go to Garrett Nussmeier, LSU.
Do you know why Julian 13 for 21, 26? Does that sound amazing? No. but he led his
zero
team.
INTs is important.
Exactly.
I mean, Arch had 2 picks. One of them was overturned after replay. So, technically he had one, but he didn't. For 3 quarters, he looked like ass. I'm just
Sometimes the really good games are you just managing the game and helping lead your team to victory. But I see a lot of hope in him. I think he's going to get better as the year goes on. So, how about Nussmeier and Cade Klubnik?
I mean, Nuss was 28 of 38, 232, 1 touchdown.
And that was a game that LSU typically finds a way not to win, right? We talked about how they had not won an opener in a long time, but I think you're going to agree with me here. You really like Garrett Nussmeier, correct?
I think he's the best quarterback in college.
Okay,
period.
I really like him a lot too. Like, this game had 2 experienced, really good quarterbacks, but was Clemson supposed to have an elite defense?
They weren't supposed to, no.
Well, Clemson's front is good. Okay, we know that, right? Clemson is always good in the trenches. I just thought Nussmeier was really, really good. And again, with all the teams playing bad opponents, to me, Nussmeier doing what he did week 1, I don't know if it was spectacular, but it was good enough. So I'll give him an A-.
Wow.
An A-. I mean, well, he might even get – I'm an easy grader, so I might even give an A there.
Well, that's the problem, Wayne. You blame the youth, but, I mean, the grade inflation these days
is
a real problem.
Huge problem. I totally agree. You just caught me. I agree. I'm also trying to build their self-esteem too.
You got it. It's like the velvet hand. You got to know when to push, when to pull. I understand.
It's tricky.
I get it.
Cade Klubnik, again, it wasn't his best effort.
Let me read the numbers on Cade, because this is – I thought this was going to be the premier quarterback matchup of week 1. And it just didn't happen for Cade. 19 of 38, 230 yards. Him and I had as many passing touchdowns on Saturday night, 0, and he had a pick. And Clemson, at home, put up 10 points in a loss.
Right. Yeah. I actually wish I would have given Garrett an A because I forgot this is a road test. But it's got to be a C for Cade. I know he has room to grow. I know he's going to keep getting better. I still think he's a very good quarterback. I still think that Clemson's going to be in the mix for a playoff berth. So I'm going to give him a C. I mean, for me, the problem with these quarterbacks is some of them, like our next person, didn't play anybody.
Well, hang on. C is a passing grade, Wayne. We can get into college with C's.
Yeah, I know, but
Klubnik failed this man.
No,
Fail
I'm not
him.
going to. I'm not
Send
going
him
to.
back to class.
When you're playing an elite team first week, it's pretty difficult. I'm not going to give him. I'm not. No. Cade Klubnik's going to be a very good quarterback this year. This game wasn't so bad that I'm going to fail him or give him a D. It's a C to me. So stop trying to change my grades. That's
I'm
my
not trying to
answer.
change your grade. I just think you're just a very generous grader.
Really fun grade. So here's the problem. I almost want to give John Mateer an incomplete or not enough information yet. He's 30 for 37, threw for almost
Michigan.
400 yards. But who did they play?
Against Michigan next week.
Yeah,
who did they play? They played nobody.
Do you know that nobody's actual mascot?
Oklahoma played. Hang on, it was an FCS team, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Illinois State, the Redbirds.
Okay, you just read that, but for the most part, when you don't know who the team is and you're an average fan, some of these teams really it's incomplete. I need more. I need to grade a couple of more papers first.
Okay.
By the way, I think he's going to be very good. I think he's going to be very good.
He already is.
Dampier gets an A. I know you didn't stay up and watch that whole game for a guy that ran for 1,200 yards for New Mexico.
I watched it.
He was electric. He could not be stopped. He pretty much made everybody miss, and then when he threw the ball, he was almost perfect. I mean, he had a very, very, very good game. And I've always felt this about Utah. The way they play football, as good as they are on defense, they have one of the best offensive lines in the entire country. They have speed. I was blown away. They got the edge so many times. They have a player named Snowden that plays offense, defense. He plays whatever you want him to play. He's really, really good and electric. Utah is scary right now. My only issue is as much as they ran Dampier,
sure,
he's going to get beat up. So they need to be careful. I don't know if they have a light opponent. I actually think they play someone pretty non-existent this week, so they'll be able to rest him a little bit.
Well, they played somebody pretty non-existent last week.
Hey, shut your mouth. Okay, so Dampier gets an A+, man. I thought he was ridiculously good.
Okay.
I'm also going to give Joey Aguilar for Tennessee, and I know this is hurtful because Joey Aguilar was at UCLA for a while, and you trust me, if you read the internet, the back and forth between comparisons between Nico and Joey have been just coming left and right. Joey Aguilar, I thought he was a good player when he came to UCLA. I thought he was a good thrower. He was prone to make some mistakes. I watched quite a bit of that game. He had some errant throws. But what I like about Joey is he gives you the feeling that you have a gunslinger. He spins the ball very effortlessly. He's got a strong arm. He's mobile enough to move around. So I'm watching him play, and I see a high throw here or a high throw there, and then he comes right back and hits a 15-yard crossing route for a first down. So what I've always liked about quarterbacks is, they may miss a couple throws, but that next one's going to be a good one, and they'll still get a first down. So he's in that A- range. I would love for him to clean up a few of those. He had a couple guys that were open that he just kind of sailed in on them. But he had a really, really good game. Again, though, Syracuse, what are they? I don't. Is Tennessee that good? I think they could be really good, but I don't know about Syracuse yet. But that was a good game. Joey's good. Bryce Underwood, again, who did they play?
They played New Mexico, the Lobos. Wayne.
We play them later, so let's hope. But it was solid. I mean, he looks the part.
He looks great.
He looks
very
great.
Good. Now he's got to go on the road and play a Brent Venables defense coming up on Saturday night in Norman. That's not going to be easy. But
I want to get this in before we do the.
You got 60 seconds because Phil's waiting. He's in the waiting room. He's in the lobby.
You didn't ask me about Julian. Not Julian Sand. You didn't ask me about Superman. You didn't ask me about the South Carolina. That
Lenore Sellers. I didn't think. I mean, we can save it. Lenore Sellers, Haynes King. There were some phenomenal quarterbacks.
There's some other quarterbacks too, and again, I just want to focus on the fact, and we're going to switch gears here, but there's more. Every time I watch some of these quarterbacks, and I notice the footwork flaws, because I didn't think Sellers had his best game. Now, I will say this. It was Virginia Tech, right? I actually think they have a lot of promise this year. I liked what I saw from them, even though they lost. Yeah, I'm telling you, I thought they played physical. I thought they brought it. The quarterback had his moments. I know it didn't all work out, but remember, South Carolina's good, really good. So that was an intriguing game to me because sometimes even in these losses early season, you can see enough from some of these teams. Like all these teams that lost that played tough games, they're not done. There's plenty of opportunity to get back in the mix. So I thought that was a pretty fun game to watch.
Okay, well said. I mean, there's no doubt. There's some very, very good 0-1 football teams out there with a long season still ahead of them. Let's hit pause on the quarterback grades, although I got to be honest, Wayne, you are a soft grader. I expected you to be handing out
You're
some
either
Fs,
A or F.
I
know how you think.
You're handing pass-fails out. I mean, unbelievable.
You're A or F. You're either
Phil
love them
Steele,
or hate them.
Our man, joins the show. Coming up next, we'll run through some Week 2 lines of Phil. Wednesday edition of College Sports Now. As promised, our man, Phil Steele, author of Phil Steele's College Football Preview Magazine, joins the show. He is on Twitter at PhilSteele042. Phil, thank you as always for making the time for us. Wayne and I were talking quarterbacks before you jumped on. I'll tee it up for you before we get into some of these games. Which quarterback from this past weekend impressed you the most? Could be a newcomer, could be somebody that you've seen play this thing for the last couple of seasons, but who stood out to you?
Let's see. I thought Nussmeier for LSU did a really good job, as expected, but he was taking on a hell of a defense in Clemson, and I thought he had himself a really good game. And then, you have to go to Florida State, and
yes,
and their quarterback didn't do amazingly good throwing the football. I mean, 9 of 14, 152. But a powerful runner and led a good offense. And when he had to make the key throw, he did. And Castellanos is clearly a better threat here in this type of offense where he can run the football than he was in last year's Boston College offense.
Hey, Phil, real quick, how about those Florida schools? Man, Miami got nasty at the end of that game, and Florida State looked like they had guys all over the field. They were impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And, even though Florida was just playing Long Island, to hold the team to 2 first downs is pretty good for the course of the game. And, the thing with when you look at Florida this year is not only do they have DJ Lagway, but now they've got Tramel Jones, a true freshman, who came in and he led 3 touchdown drives. Now, granted, Long Island is not a good football team, but they just absolutely dominated him. I thought Tramel Jones had some good moments in that one as well. So the Florida schools got off to a great start.
Yeah, Phil, I got to be honest. I didn't know LIU had a football team until I saw them on the schedule. I mean, where do you play football? It's Long Island. I mean, it's the most expensive real estate in the country. I mean, that's like Wayne's real estate down there in Southern California. I'm just shocked they have enough room for a football field. All right.
And yet, in the FCS magazine, we have 2 full pages on Long Island.
That's why you're the best.
Absolutely.
That's why you're the best. I want to jump into some week 2 games, Wayne, if that's all right with you.
Let's do it.
I mean, okay, because you've been venting for like 30 minutes. I got to talk some ball.
I'm just talking QBs. I'm not venting.
Before we get to Saturday, Phil, can you entertain me with a Friday night game on the card? JMU at Louisville. The last time James Madison went on the road and played an ACC school, they put 70 on North Carolina, Phil. We're getting 14.5. Yes, I just went on JMU. Do you have a read? Do you have a play? What are we thinking about Friday night, JMU at Louisville?
Yeah, I think James Madison can hang with Louisville in this one. You know, Louisville was very impressive in the opener. I thought Miller Moss looked really good. He had 68%, but and Isaac Brown was basically Isaac Brown. But here's what James Madison. You know, Alonzo Barnett, after last year's injury, was thought to be doubtful for the year. He actually started the game, hit 14 to 22. They've also got Sluka, who, of course, was the Holy Cross quarterback for Bob Chesney 2 years ago. Both of those quarterbacks threw for a touchdown and ran for a touchdown. So I like the depth at quarterback. I think with Petaway and Knight at running back, they've got a good run game, and James Madison gets fired up for these games. They do have a big one on deck, but Liberty's 2 weeks away. So I think James Madison gives them a handful here. Should be a higher scoring game. I think a high-scoring game with James Madison plus the points.
Thank you.
So there's a lot of big numbers this week, but I do want you to talk about San Jose State going to Texas. I spent a lot of time at the beginning of the show, and trust me, I'm rooting for a lot of these young players. But one of the things that gets me going, and Steven knows this, is when I watch young players where their fundamentals affect them. And I see wild throws because of the arm angles wrong and the feet aren't set when they can set them. Sometimes you have to do that. And I thought Arch really struggled when, and trust me, these were, I don't know about you, but that game last week, I'm like, the secondary was ridiculous on both teams, Texas and Ohio State. I was like, nobody's really open. But when in a game that close, I felt like Arch had a couple opportunities to make some easy throws, and he missed them pretty badly. He'll get better, I know that. But I'm just curious what you think about Texas in general, if you agree with me. I mean, that game could have gone either way. It happened to be at home for Ohio State. But 2 really good teams. Texas came up short, but I still think they're going to be really good. But I want Texas. I hope Arch kind of fixed some of the footwork that he struggled with, I think led to some inconsistencies.
Yeah, no doubt. And, you know, the thing a lot of folks don't point out is that Texas actually had a 336 to 203 yard edge in the game. Of course, they got stopped on downs a couple of times, a couple of key times. In fact, 1 for 5 on 4th down. You know, had they converted on that goal line on 4th and goal at the 1, might have had a completely different game. But starting on the road against Ohio State in that secondary, now going home against San Jose State. Keep in mind, Arch started 2 games at home last year versus Group of 5 teams, UTSA and ULM. And those scores were 56-7 and 51-3. So he's back where he's going to be more comfortable at home. You know, a young offensive line, I say it all the time. You have a young offensive line and a young quarterback. You always struggle in your first road start. And Texas did. Even though they only allowed 1 sack last week, I thought the O-line struggled to have the perfect game. Arch was under pressure sometimes. And San Jose State, frankly, disappointed me last week. I thought Walker Eggett and company would be able to handle Central Michigan. They did miss 2 field goals at the end. One got tipped, a 33-yarder, and then they missed a field goal on the final player. They could have won. But still, I was expecting a better effort from San Jose. They're still a Mountain West contender, but I think they may mail this one in. And I'm taking Texas off a loss with only UTEP on deck. It's going to be more of the score you saw last year with those UTEP and Sam Houston or UTSA and ULM games. So I like Texas to roll big, and Arch will look a lot better this week.
Yeah. That's a big number. Penn State FIU is also a really big number early. This game should be a lot of fun, Phil. I'm curious what your computer thinks. Illinois, ranked 11 in the latest poll, favored by less than a field goal at Duke. Noon kick on national TV. we've seen Duke in these spots before jump up and get people. Remember Clemson a couple years ago? I know that was a night game. It was a standalone game. But still, a lot of people were surprised by this line, Phil. What do you think of Illinois and Duke Saturday at high noon?
Yeah, I think when you look at Duke, they are a really good team. I love the defense. Manny Diaz's defenses are always tough. And last year, they were strong. At the end of the year, they wore down a little. The Ole Miss game was tough in the bowl. But their defense is still strong. Offensively, they brought in the Tulane transfer and Darian Mensah. He hit basically 80% of his passes last week. Looked like the guy that you thought you were getting. But here's the thing. They were only beating Elon 24-17 in the fourth quarter. They tacked on 3 late touchdowns to get their margin. And last year, Duke did not defeat a single Power 4 team that finished with a winning record. So this will be their first chance at beating like a ranked team like Illinois is. Illinois went through the paces against Western. I think this year's Illinois team is a full touchdown better than last year's Illinois team that finished 10-3. And the reason for that is last year's squad had a lot of close games, didn't blow people out. This year they practically have everybody back. Luke Altmaier is going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten. I like the Lowry-Fegan combo at running back. Defensively, they're loaded with weapons. I just think Illinois is the better team. You asked how my computer likes this one. I can tell you my computer's got Illinois winning at 30-23. So it also thinks the line's a little bit short here. I like the Illini to go on the road and get the win. I think they're the more tested team. And I think at the end of the year, Illinois is going to be much higher in the rankings than Duke.
Okay, Phil. So a couple weeks ago after the game in Ireland, we talked about, and I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, that you told me that one of the things that was interesting to you is that the coaches talked about it wasn't the week after, because Iowa State and Kansas State both won their games this week. It was the 2 weeks after. Iowa State has Iowa coming to town. I believe they're favored just barely, but I'm not sure if what that 2 week thing plays into this one, but it feels like this is going to be a heck of a game.
Yeah, it's the first thing I thought of when I saw this matchup in the off season over the summer was the 2 week thing and how Iowa was in a great spot and Army against Kansas State as well. And when I look at this game, first of all, you have to expect a low scoring game. Out of the last 20 times these teams met, and Stephen, I'm sure you like Iowa unders, right? The last 20 times these teams met, 17 times it's gone under the total. Only 3 times has it gone over. So you expect a lower scoring game. That sides with the underdog. I wish Iowa was getting a little more than 3, but as long as they're getting the full 3, I definitely like Iowa here. They have a shot at the upset. Mark Gronowski was not 100% last week. He had some cramps, only ran the ball for 39 yards, only hit 8 of 15. Hopefully he's 100% this week. I'll tell you this. I thought Iowa State might be in a flat spot last week coming off Kansas State with Iowa on deck. How about 55-7 against a decent South Dakota team?
Yeah.
Rocco Beck looks great this year.
Yes.
So the fact that Iowa has won the last 6 times they've gone to Ames, the dog has done well in the series. I'm going to lean with Iowa plus the points. But I think it's going to be a great game between 2 teams that are going to finish the season pretty good this year.
Yeah, that line's already started to tick down to 3. I know 3.5 or 4 maybe was even out there earlier in the week. So, yeah, that should be a fun game.
Above 3, take it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's usually how this game ends, right? Somebody wins by 3, one way or the other. Another noon game. Noon slate is pretty loaded on Saturday. That's 9 a.m. Wayne's time. Baylor at SMU. I know Baylor fell short against Auburn last week, but boy, this offense is going to be fun to watch, and we know what SMU can do with the Kevin Jennings in that offense. SMU's only favored by 3 here, Phil. The books still have a lot of respect for Baylor, even though they lost to an SEC team at home. What's your read on this in-state rivalry?
Yeah, and I think when you take a look at that Baylor game, I mean, Baylor did have a 483 to 415 yard edge in that game, but they were playing from behind at the end. At the start of the game, I think they had 2 long drives and they only led 3-0. I think that was the key. Had they converted those into, let's say, 10-0 or 14-0, would have been a different game. Sawyer Robertson did look good, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I was wondering about the running back combo. Last year they had 2 guys. They had Bryson Washington and Dawson Pendergrass. Pendergrass was lost in August for the season. I saw the true freshman Caden Knighton come in. He had a nice run on the opening play of the game. I think on his first play, I should say, I think he got 16 yards. But after that, only 13 yards on 5 carries. So they don't have quite the running back combo they had last year. I was a little disappointed in Baylor's performance last week, but I think these two teams are pretty even. Smoot usually wins their games at home. So I'm going to side. I think that Vegas has it correct. I would have favored SMU by 3 in this game. They're favored by 3. So I'm gonna sit back and watch it. I think both teams are real good this year.
I'm going to skip a couple on our list, Hill, although I do just want to throw out the come on, Indiana. You got to do something about this schedule of yours. This is ridiculous. Anyway, I want to skip down to one game that when I see it, I'm like, oh, that's a good game, but it's a pretty big number. Oklahoma State at Oregon. It's funny, Phil, because I broke down a lot of quarterbacks earlier, and one of the quarterbacks I watched because he was at UCLA at one point in time was Dante Moore, and I know they didn't play the most difficult of opponents, but the one thing I really like about him is that fundamentals that I talk about. Yeah, he can throw the sidearm stuff. He can do all those like fun throws to watch, but when he steps into his throws, he has great form. And I think it's going to lead him to being pretty darn accurate. And then this offense, it gives him a chance to have a really, really good year. So it looks like that. I mean, this number is like almost 30. So pretty crazy.
Yeah. And let me digress to Indiana for just 1 minute. Last week, amazingly, this team, Indiana, rushed for 309 yards. So their offensive line dominates the game, right? They got into the red zone 7 times. 7. And they scored 2 touchdowns, field goals, stopped on downs. It's just ridiculous how they had 30 first downs to 10. Old Dominion had 2 long runs by the quarterback, 75, 70 yards, and somehow that game finishes 27-14. Watch out Kennesaw State because Coach Signetti is angry that they went into that. They get first and goal, and they end up with just 2 touchdowns on that. They're going to take some out this week, I think, on Kennesaw State. But going back to Oregon in this one, I agree with you. Dante Moore, first of all, you got to love the kid. Transfers from UCLA to Oregon to sit the bench and learn the offense. Looked really good last week, 78%. And, last week, if you followed the Oklahoma State game, and Wayne, I know you were tuned to it start to finish against UT Martin. Haas Henge started the game for Oklahoma State. 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. They're up 14-0. Henge broke his foot, and then Zane Flores took over the rest of the game. Now, Flores is, I think he's like a PS28 quarterback, so he's good, but he's a young guy, and their offense wasn't the same once Hedge left the game. This is an Oklahoma State team that's practically brand new. They brought in like 20, 30 guys after spring practice was over. That tells you how unhappy Coach Gundy was with the team after spring practice, that he had to reshape the roster then. You're stepping into one of the loudest home stadiums out there. Oregon only has Northwestern on deck. I like the way they polished off Montana State. Montana State was undefeated in the regular season last year, and they have a Stanford guy, a quarterback in Lamson. So I think that Oregon is a team that started slow last year. They're not starting slow this year. I'll lay the points with the Ducks in this one.
Wow. We were talking about Texas in a get-right game at home against San Jose State. I'm curious, Phil, if you have a similar feeling about Troy going to Clemson Saturday afternoon. Another big number. Tigers are laying close to 5 touchdowns. But do you get similar vibes about Clemson and Cade Klubnik, an offense that really struggled against LSU, getting right at home?
Stephen, did you watch last year's Clemson App State game?
Oh, yeah. I know where you're going with this. Yeah, go on.
At the half, Clemson, off a 3-point performance against Georgia, had 56 points and 525 yards against App State before they took their foot off the pedal. I still feel they could have the most potent offense in the country. I wasn't wild about their offensive line against LSU. I didn't think they played a good game at all. Klubnik was under constant pressure, but they need a feel-good game. And we saw it last year against App State. I didn't use that as a play last year, Stephen. And at the half, I'm like, damn, why didn't I use that as a play? Because, 525 yards at the half, for crying out loud. Yes, I think Troy might be in trouble here. Now, Nichols is a decent FCS team. Troy did struggle a little bit with them at times last week, but they're stepping into the wrong place at the wrong time. And even with Georgia Tech on deck, a massive ACC game, I got to think it's a get-right game for Clemson.
Yeah.
You're not hearing a lot of people talk about Kentucky. So when you have a ranked team like Ole Miss coming to town, It's an opportunity, right? You win a game like this, people start talking about you. I'm just curious. I don't know a lot about Kentucky right now, so I'm interested what you have to say.
Yeah, and Kentucky's got a quarterback in Zach Calzada who started out at Texas A&M, led the upset of Alabama. Last week against Toledo, he was average. He had 10 of 23 for 85 yards. They've got two good running backs. I mean, Seth McGowan is a guy that started at a much bigger school and then was at New Mexico State last year. He started at Oklahoma, actually. He had 78 yards. Dante Dowdell, another transfer, had 129. So the big blue wall looked more like the big blue wall against Toledo. I thought Toledo and them played a pretty even game. And Toledo's a really good team, maybe one of the best group of five teams. First downs were even, yards were even in the game. And so I thought Kentucky played a good game last week to win by 8. But Ole Miss is playing with legitimate revenge. And last week against Georgia State, Kiffin did not let up. They get into the fourth quarter, and he put 3 touchdowns on the board in the fourth quarter. One of them, I think, in the final minutes to win that thing 63-7. I don't think he'll let up here either. Kentucky's always tough as a home dog. They've had some really good home dog performances, but do keep in mind last year they lost to South Carolina at home 31-6. They lost to Auburn at home by 14. They lost to Louisville at home by 27. And I still think Kentucky is going to be at the lower part of the SEC. So I'm going to say that Austin Simmons and company go on the road and get this one by more than 10 points.
Yeah, big revenge spot for Ole Miss too after what we saw last year. Let's keep it with the SEC theme. I know that really excites Wayne. Florida hosting USF. Phil, USF, one of the biggest winners of week 1 with what they did to Boise State, just dismantling the Broncos on Thursday night. Now they got to go to the Swamp. Next week they got to go to Miami. I mean, they got their work cut out for them the next couple weeks. But Florida laying just 17.5 here, I've got to think that's a bit of maybe a reaction or an overreaction to how good USF looked last week. What say you?
Yeah, I think USF is good, but, watching the Boise game, before that fake punt, I thought Boise State was the better team. And Boise got stopped on downs and, 3-4 times, turned the ball over 3-4 times. And a lot of it happened after that fake punt. That was really the key play of the game. Prior to the fake punt, I thought Boise was the better team. So I don't think South Florida, dominated Boise like a 34-7 final score. In fact, I thought Boise was outplaying them for a good portion of the game until that fake punt. Then Boise just got desperate at the end. And I think when you look at Florida, they have my number 5 rated offensive line in the country. They have my number 10 rated defensive line. They've got DJ Lagway. And in case you're worried about, hey, let's sit Lagway and rest him in the fourth quarter because we got LSU on deck. And then we got Miami of Florida on deck, a couple of big games. Do keep in mind, Tramel Jones got his feet wet last week. He's a VHT true freshman quarterback that hit 12 of 18 for 131. I think he can keep it going. So I'm going to side with Florida, although I do think when you look at South Florida at the end of the year, they are a contender in the American Conference.
Okay.
All right, hey, Steven, let's keep it in the SEC. How's that sound? Let's go Arizona State at Mississippi State. I would like to think that probably the SEC, this would be a good look for them to win a game, but I like Arizona State. I love Coach Dillingham and what he's done there.
Yeah, Mississippi State is so much more improved over last year. Last year, practically a brand new team. Now, Shapen did play last year, and if you watch the game last year, it was really a tale of 2 halves. Arizona State led 27-3 at the half. The game was non-competitive. Mississippi State got back in it, only was down by 7. They scored a touchdown with like 5 minutes to go. They kicked off to Arizona State, and then Arizona State actually ran out the clock to come out of there with the 7-point win. This year's Mississippi State team much improved, and I thought they showed it last week. They played Southern Miss even in the first half, then pulled away in the second half, did put up 465 yards. Arizona State, granted, you're playing an FCS school. It's tough to get up for a game like that. They sort of went through the motions against Northern Arizona. I would expect a good performance here, but since the line's a full touchdown, I'm going to take the home dog here with Mississippi State to keep it closer than expected.
Let's keep it in the SEC, Wayne. You skipped a game, and I'm not surprised, but I want to get Phil's takes. Hang on a second, Phil,
okay.
Because this is what I love about your magazine. It comes out late June, early July. I'm at the beach. I'm at the pool. I don't know what these teams look like. Hell, we don't even know what these rosters look like in some cases. But I'm just looking at schedules, and I'm trying, like you do, and you do a really good job in your magazine, of explaining how much schedules matter and how important it is, especially when you've got these super conferences, 16 teams, 17 teams, 18 teams. The luck of the draw, the schedule matters. I looked at LSU's schedule, and when I saw La Tech on week 2, in between Clemson and Florida, and I'm like, look, I don't know anything about Louisiana Tech, but that is the ultimate sandwich game if you're going to get LSU. Now they win at Clemson, okay? They host Florida in the SEC opener, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, 37.5? Like, what do we think, Phil? Like, talk to me about La Tech. Is that a good decision, or is that a bad decision? What do we think?
Yeah, I think Louisiana Tech could keep this one closer than expected. In fact, if you look at my rankings in CUSA, I have Louisiana Tech picked higher than everybody else. And I know that Coach Cumbie does not had a winning record in his first 3 years, but they made my most improved list. I expect them to get there this year. They've got a really good defense. And now this year they lost their defensive coordinator, so I was wondering a little bit about the defense. But they still remain strong through a shutout in the opener against SEL. And I think the situation, as you correctly pointed out, Steve, and you talk about a sandwich game, this is it. You cannot give, and you know how important the opener was. I've never heard a coach talk so much about the opening game of the season and how important it was to win it, as Brian Kelly did. And then to have Florida on deck, your SEC opener, and everybody's patting them on the back, and now you're a massive favorite. How do you possibly play anywhere near your B or C game here? I would definitely take the points with Louisiana Tech. Now, LSU's defense impressed me. They were better than I expected against Clemson. This is a team that's a legitimate contender in the SEC. But I'm going to go with the sandwich here, Stephen, and take Louisiana Tech plus the massive amount of points.
All right, Phil. So 2 ranked teams, 2 big-time programs, 2 blue bloods that haven't been as good as they expect to be. These are not just teams that are happy to be ranked. I think Michigan and Oklahoma both see themselves as winning conference championships and playing for bigger things at the end of the year. It just feels to me like this is a huge game for these 2 coaches. It's at Oklahoma. What do you think?
Yeah, young quarterback, first road start against the Brett Venables defense. That's excellent. I mean, last year, Oklahoma held foes to 87 yards per game below their season average, number 6 in the country. They got 8 starters back, a lot of dangerous players like R. Mason Thomas at defensive end. And now you've got a young quarterback making his first road start, which I think is usually a trouble spot. On the flip side, I love what John Mateer did last week, and I expected the offense to be vastly improved. Last year's Oklahoma team had 0 returning starters on the offensive line. They've got a veteran O-line. The receiving core vastly upgraded due to the fact that last year they were injury plagued. They had 5 down their top 5 receivers at one point. They get the injured players back. They add in some transfers. You've got John Mateer at quarterback. You've got Ben Arbuckle's offense, and they're at home for this one. So I just think Oklahoma is the better team offensively. You know, defensively, it surprised me that New Mexico had 21 first downs against Michigan last week. In fact, that game was 27-17 before Michigan scored to make it 34-17. I definitely like Oklahoma. I think if my magazine did not have Oklahoma as the number 1 surprise team in the country, this game might be pick 'em. But since we've got them the number 1 surprise team in the country, and there's been a lot of hype on Oklahoma because of that, they're a 5-point favorite in this game.
Phil, are you saying your magazine is the reason why Oklahoma is a 5-point favorite in this game? Is that what you're intimating?
I am.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, are you debating that? I mean
everyone reads it. Everyone reads it. I thought this thing opened at like 3, Phil. Did this line open?
Michigan. Yeah. In the summer before my magazine came out, Michigan was favored by 3.
So you've really moved it more than 5 points. You've moved it like 8 points, is what you're saying.
Well, last week's results had a little something to do with that, too. I think Oklahoma might have been a 3-point favorite at Michigan, been more impressive. But, I like the Sooners in this one at home to get this one by a touchdown or more. Watch out for Oklahoma. I think they're a playoff contender.
I love it. Jaden Ott, by the way, people were asking, is he okay? He only got 1 carry last week, and Venables was like, he's fine. We're just saving him. So thought that was interesting too. But John Mateer, who Wayne was giving out quarterback grades before you came on, Phil. I got to John Mateer's line. He gave him an incomplete. Said it didn't matter. Didn't count because he didn't play anybody. Unbelievable.
Okay.
What
He
are
looked
we
good,
supposed to do
Phil.
with this guy?
He
Unbelievable.
looked good.
No, I can understand Wayne's logic there. I mean, I'm looking. You go at body of work of what John Material did last year at Washington State, and granted, he didn't play a team like Michigan. So, all right, let's wait and see. I mean, Wayne is your quarterback guru there.
Yeah. I got one more for you, and then I'll let Wayne throw out, some trash like the UNLV game a little bit later. But
Wayne's gonna start with his third quarter of totals plays pretty soon.
I do have one more question, but that's it.
Well, in the spirit of some of these get-right games, Phil, what do we think about Alabama at home against ULM? It's a big number. It's 34.5. Do we think the Tide get right at home in the spirit of some of these other schools that we've talked about, like at Texas or Clemson?
They better. I mean, they better give a better effort than they did last week. There's no doubt about that. And when you look at ULM, they had a couple games last year against the big boys. They lost to Texas 51-3. They know the games that they can win. I think they've got a winnable game on deck. But here's something about the team ULM played last week, St. Francis. They're actually moving down to Division III next year. They lost a lot of transfers, and most of the transfers coming in, Division III personnel. So they're almost taking on a Division III team. And the spread opened up at 22, climbed all the way at the very end to 31. So they missed 2 extra points, didn't cover. I was disappointed in their performance against St. Francis. I thought they'd win bigger last week. And now they're going into this better be an Alabama and angry Alabama team. If it's not, then you start to wonder about what type of season it's going to be. But for all that talk of the team buying into Coach DeBoer this year, and I was throwing it out last week, they need a big win. So I'm going to call for Bama to win this one big.
Yeah, that was probably my biggest shock of the weekend. Not just the Florida State played so well and looked so good, but Alabama struggled so much. And people have pointed out they counted something like 20-something plays where guys were loafing. I saw that on,
yes.
and I'm like, gosh darn it, can you imagine? I don't know how many times we watched Saban lay into somebody, whether it was a coach not doing their job or a player not, and it didn't matter if it was a special teams guy. He gave him an earful. And when you have that many guys taking plays off, that's something you should be concerned about.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's got to be a better performance this week.
All right, Phil. So my question is this. You brought this up during the Oklahoma State thing. So many players have brought in, so many of these teams, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, have brought in so many transfers that I'm just curious what you think and how you evaluate, because I imagine that when you've only had players for so long, and so even like UCLA, only having your quarterback for fall practice, wasn't here in spring. Do you give some of these teams, or you try to evaluate like Oklahoma State or a UCLA, when you see them play, especially if they play a real pretty good opponent, do you think it might just take a little bit more time for them to kind of gel as a team? And do you worry about the fact that if they get their butts kicked too bad early on, that they may not ever gel because, of all they're going through?
Yes, 100,000%, Wayne. In fact, I did a blog on philsteele.com, and if you go to philsteele.com, go to the blogs, go to archives, and find the homegrown article. It's a couple weeks ago, and it talks about the teams that are homegrown. In other words, ones that recruit freshmen, they're now seniors. They may sprinkle in 7 to 10 transfers like Ohio State last year, like Michigan the year before, but they're basically a homegrown team versus a team like North Carolina with 70 new players on it, or a team like Coastal Carolina, who, when I talked to Coach Beck and went over the roster with him, like, hey, Coach Beck, last year in your second year, you had 68 new players. At least you're in year 3 now. Things have settled down. He's like, Phil, this year we got 69 new players. And you see what happened to them. And what you exactly just hit on is what happened to Florida State last year, Wayne. I think that with so many new players, you're not yet a team. And if things don't go well early, where's the team to hold together? And Florida State cratered to 2-10. Now things are going well, so all these transfers are going to mesh. I think Florida State, if they beat Miami in a few weeks, they're an ACC contender this year. Watch out for them. So the transfers can work, but it's a dangerous slope. And I do think it takes time to bring – even Bill Belichick couldn't get those 70 players playing like a team and making tackles yesterday against TCU.
Yeah, that was stunning to watch. Phil, before I let you go, I do it every week. Anything off the board? Anything we haven't talked about? Any FCS versus FBS games, or anything outside the top 25 that you feel good about going into this weekend?
I was disappointed with last week's results in that area, Steven. So I'm going to take the week off, reflect a little bit, and come back strong for you next week.
Well, listen, only the real ones know that Akron was the right pick. It was the right side, just the wrong result. We don't need to revisit it, but Akron, Wyoming, the Zips, guys, what are we doing? We got to be better. We got to be better.
Stephen, in that game, did you know that Sean Patrick, their running back, who was like the feature part of the offense, he had 5 rushes, 4 receptions, all in the first half, was injured and missed the second half, but still 3-0. 4 minutes to go. Wyoming's running out the clock. You've got the win, and oh my goodness, doggone it.
Yeah, listen, it's okay. We'll bounce back. We'll be better. But Phil, I'm always going to ask. I didn't know if maybe you had UCLA, UNLV. Maybe that was on your board for this week. I thought it was kind of shocking that a Big Ten team's just a 3-point road favorite against the UNLV.
Hey, I'll throw one out for you, Stephen. How's that?
Okay. We have to force it, but come on, I'm all ears, buddy.
All right. Let's take a look at New Mexico State against Tulsa. That's a game that everybody's watching. Wayne, I know you've already got it taped on your VCR for this week.
Of course. Yep.
Yeah. And, New Mexico State only beat Bryant 19-3, but they're in the second year for their head coach, Sanchez. They are a much improved team this year. They are much better at home. If you follow New Mexico State, like Wayne does, we know that New Mexico State is so much better at home than they are on the road. Tulsa is a team that has a ton of transfers. Yes, they have a new coach. Yes, they beat Abilene Christian last week. But that game was, when you look at Tulsa this year, they're now a road favorite. I believe they're laying, 3.5 in this one?
That's correct.
Against New Mexico State. New Mexico State should be favored in this game. I'm going to take New Mexico State plus the 3.5. Tulsa should not be laying points to anybody on the road.
What Phil's saying is one does not simply stroll into Las Cruces, New Mexico, Wayne. I know you know this from your college days. You used to go down there with your buddies, but that's just not how it goes. So there you go. Golden Hurricane, not so fast, my friend. Phil, you're the best. Enjoy week 2. Wayne was saying it's a down weekend, but there are no down weekends for you and I. We know. Real ones know. Thank you for hopping on with us.
All right, a lot of fun as always, guys. Have a great weekend.
There you go.
Thanks, Phil.
That is our man, Phil Steele, and what he says goes here on College Sports Now. Them's the rules, as they say. You okay over there, Wayne? You having a hot flash? You all right? You good?
It's hot. It's 100 degrees here today.
No chance.
It's humid.
Is it really that hot?
AC's on. Yeah, it's hot. It's hot. It's hot and humid. We're having thunder showers and some weather.
I don't know. I was gonna ask you, do you get fall? Is that a season that you actually get there in Southern California, or is it just
fall?
Is it
once
just
we get into
summer?
No,
winter?
Once you get into October, we'll get fall. We get seasons. They're not drastic though.
I woke up this morning. Okay, we taped the show on Tuesday night. For those that don't know, that's why I was having a beverage. I'm not drinking at 8:00 in the morning when you hear this.
I was going to ask you what kind of beverage you had.
I woke up this morning. It was 53 degrees outside, Wayne.
It's
hot,
it
is fall. It's a false fall.
Sweating right now.
Well, go tell wifey to turn the AC on,
I
man.
know.
You guys probably keep that thing at 79 because Gavin Newsom won't let you turn it down any lower.
No, we don't. We when it's right, in my house, it's got to be at 72, and it does cost a lot of freaking money. That's why I keep asking for a raise every year, and no one answers my text.
Not my problem anymore, Wayno. Not my problem. Okay, you guys left for greener pastures, so I can't help you there.
Let's just move on. I'm not saying anything. So Phil, I loved to all the people because you were trying to. I was almost scared to hear what he had to say about the UCLA UNLV game because I want UCLA to win so bad. I thought we ran into a buzzsaw, but one of the numbers is UCLA's got 50-something new players this year.
Sure.
Whether it's freshmen and transfers and our whole secondary and, so even some of our linebackers are transfers and 3 of our offensive linemen are transfers. Our quarterback, only had summer and we have almost all new coaches, but 3. And I was kind of trying to get at the point where, I think some of the fan bases need to realize that when you play a Morgan Scalley defense and you play a Kyle Whittingham team that now has a quarterback and athletes to go along with a great O-line and a great D-line and great linebacker play, it's going to be a dogfight. And before you looked up, it was kind of like, yeah, this game's over. And a lot of respect for that. But what I'm trying to get at is I think for some of these teams, I don't know. I've been skeptical of the Bill Belichick, and at first I was like, wow, that was a great drive. And then you watch that game, and you're like, oh my gosh, they just got boat raced. So, but I do think these teams will get better. I think that, and Phil said it perfectly. You're either going to stay together as a team and you're going to find out what kind of character your transfers have or lack of, depending on how things go. But I think what's funny is if you have a bunch of transfers, you almost hope you don't play an elite team right out of the gate. You would rather have kind of that softer part of your schedule for those first couple weeks because, the SC fans are losing their minds because they scored 73 points. And I said, but against who? I don't even know who was it Missouri State or I don't know who they played. But it's like, you're watching a JV team play against a varsity team. It's like, so, when some teams go up against elite opponents and their fan bases are all freaking out right now, there's other teams that are getting wins against nobodies and they have a false sense of how good they are. But the psychological part of that is when you win some of those games, you do build that camaraderie and people feel good about themselves. That's the part that I think Phil hit on really well. It was the psychology of a team. And again, this is going to sound mean, but when you have players starting at 9 or 10 years old, that every single time they lose a couple games, the parents decide that that's not good enough for their little baby, and they have them transfer to another team that wins every game. And all they're doing is chasing victories, and they're avoiding some of the crucial lessons we can learn from getting hit a lot and getting beat up a little bit, and how do you overcome that? And then these guys get to college, and now we have this open free agency where every time things get rough, people are either chasing money or chasing that new opportunity. And let's just say now that the school sells you, we're going to be good. We're going to win a lot of games. Look at all the people we're bringing in. We got all these good players. We're doing all this good stuff. Then you lose a couple games, and because of the habits that athlete has already created, well, it's never their fault. So where can I go next? And if a kid starts thinking about where they can go next, 2 or 3 games into a season, do you think you're going to get that kid totally focused the way you need to be to win football games? Probably not. So I would argue that that's a huge problem that a lot of these schools are going to have to deal with.
Well, of all the schools that we've talked about, all the teams, all the games that we saw over the weekend, and Phil brought this up because we asked about it, Alabama is in a position where, look, Florida State, obviously they're improved, okay? It's a 2-win team from last year. They've already matched last year's win total against FBS teams. Here's the thing, though. Bama was a 2-touchdown favorite, okay? They lost by 2 touchdowns. And you go back to last year, which was Kalen DeBoer's first, which we knew was going to be tough. These road struggles for Alabama. Bama lost 4 times away from Tuscaloosa last year. Vandy, which is inexcusable. Sorry, it just is. Oklahoma, 6-win Oklahoma. Okay, we're not talking about Lincoln Riley's Oklahoma. Okay, we're not talking about Bob Stoops' Oklahoma. We're talking about a 6-win Oklahoma team. They lost to Tennessee, fine. Rivalry game. Tennessee was a CFP team. They lost to a bad Michigan team in the bowl game. You added up 4 road losses last year. You open the season on the road, and you get whooped. Because you mentioned the scripted stuff. First drive of the game, Alabama, 75 yards, 15, 16 plays, 8 minutes off the clock, 7-0. And you're like, okay, here we go. Everybody's got scripted drives. We've been working on this stuff for weeks, Wayne. You throw that out. Florida State smoked those guys. And so I'm sure Bama will get right at home against ULM this weekend. But that margin, because you haven't started SEC play, right? That seat, the seat that was, all summer, it kind of cooled off a little bit for Coach DeBoer. And you got to rattle off 7 or 8 wins in a row now, or people are going to start getting really antsy there.
So there's a couple things. When I see Simpson play, I think he can be good. I can see the talent there. I can see that he can be good. When you hear about players not hustling, that worries me. I know Kalen DeBoer, if you look at his record before he got to Alabama, he's a winner. He's won everywhere he's been at a very high clip. He's also dealing with even though it's ghosts of Alabama past, including one that's not a ghost that's alive that works on ESPN right now, and by the way is a fantastic addition to College Game Day. As a matter of fact, he's my favorite reason to listen to it because I think he's funny, I think he's sharp, I think he's
You're talking about Pat McAfee, right?
No, I'm talking about Nick Saban. Although the looks that he gives McAfee sometimes crack me up. Just like, what is going on right now?
Oil and water, those two. Oil
it's
and water.
funny. It's actually funny to watch. So either way, I still think DeBoer can coach. I've been high on Alabama, but we're also entering an era, and I know people don't want to hear this, but because the pay for play, even though we tried to make NIL much more, which is pretty funny, by the way, how Arch Manning had more commercials than like completions at one time or something like that during the game. Someone thought that was pretty funny. But these guys should be able to make money if they're going to make commercials. But the fact that they're just getting paid by boosters is a different story. But the idea is that, maybe this leveled the playing field a little bit for some of these other conferences to be able to step up and offer as much money. And then when you take Nick Saban out of the equation and you take the promise of we're going to be the best and we're going to send half of our team to the NFL every year, I think that's gone a little bit. So what's happening right now is you feel like DeBoer, and if he has enough time to do this, has to establish his identity. And if he does that, I think he can win at a high clip. But you've got to get your players with your mindset, the type of people that you're used to coaching. Remember how good Washington was.
Sure.
Really, really good. So I still think he has that in him, but he might be put in a situation that feels unwinnable because nothing's going to be good enough because you're following the greatest college football coach of all time. And I know that whenever people say that, it's debatable, but wow, what Saban did was incredible. So I don't know. I still think Alabama's going to win a lot of games, but could it be 9-3 or 10-2 and squeaking into the playoffs and losing in the first round? It could be, but I think we're in a wait and see right now. They played a tough matchup. Florida State, Mike Norvell, I'm so happy for him. Because people, after 1 year, after going undefeated and getting screwed out of the playoffs, they had a complete disaster. But it was 1 year. And now you come back the next year, and I don't know if you watched the game, but I meant to say, I said
watch
Florida.
all the games, Wayne. All the games.
I know. So Florida State and Miami looked I didn't really mean to say Florida when I was talking to Phil. Florida State and Miami looked fantastic. They had defensive players. That last drive for Notre Dame, Miami, they couldn't block them. It was incredible to watch. And then you saw Florida State, what they did against Alabama, and it was like, wow. And I just kind of went, they're back. I mean, those two teams right there looked like they're going to be really good all year. They both had good quarterback play. They both had good defenses. I was really impressed. And they both played, Florida State and Miami both played real opponents.
Yeah.
I think Notre Dame's going to be fantastic this year too. And if you weren't impressed with C.J. Carr, I was. C.J. Carr is going to be a very good quarterback. For a young quarterback to lead them to a chance to win that game at the end, and he had no hope against that pass rush in that last drive. C.J. Carr was good in that game. He showed he could run the ball. He showed he could throw the ball. Like, you could see his promise just from watching that game.
Yeah, I didn't put C.J. Carr on the list for the quarterback grades, so that's on me.
Well, he's a freshman, but he looked fantastic. He looked good. They lost though.
Got to do it a few more times, then maybe you'll make the grade. I did mention this on the Tuesday show with Roddy. Remember the old Simpsons episodes, right? Remember, you and I are old enough to remember when those shows used to air live on cable.
No, they
Bart
were
Simpson.
on at the movie theater in the old days.
Bart Simpson, back in my day,
yeah.
Bart Simpson would always be writing something different on the chalkboard, and I joked with Roddy, for me, after week 1, I will not overreact. I'm not putting Alabama 5.5 feet underground, nor am I going to crown Florida State. Great win. Okay? It's September 2nd. So let's do this.
Keep that quarterback healthy.
Yeah, sure.
Castellanos was very good.
Yeah, there's a couple of teams that are going to need to keep their quarterback healthy.
Slow
Devon
down.
Dampier at Utah, Haynes King at Georgia Tech. You can't play like that for 12 weeks. It's just not going to happen.
Well,
you'll be dead.
I'm sorry to all the Georgia fans out there. Carson Beck looked really good. Like we talk about fundamentals and the way he throws his arm. A lot of talk is about how his arm wasn't great. He looked the part. He's stepping into throws. He throws with authority. He's got a strong arm. He also could throw with touch. I mean, it's really hard because we see some of these quarterbacks out there that played against nobody and throw for 1,000,000 yards. And then we see some of these games between two really good teams with two really good defenses. You have to evaluate those games differently because they're playing against better opponents. You're not going to throw for 390 against a really good defense. And so I'm watching Carson Beck, and the whole game I'm going, man, he's spinning it. So I think Miami – and by the way, did Mario Cristobal actually win a game where he could have screwed it up down the stretch and didn't?
Folks are saying yes. And
it looked like it to me.
Just to clarify, like Georgia fans do not miss Carson Beck. Like
they should.
On him. No, I think they're okay with what they have. Honestly, like Carson Beck, I'm not saying that he was the scapegoat. He was the reason that Georgia's offense struggled. Go look at Georgia's ground game last year. The offensive line was beaten up. Those guys could not rush.
2 years ago, Beck was pretty good.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely, 100%. But I think that's an amicable split. Not all splits are. Like your parents sit you down at the dinner table. They tell you, hey, mom and dad are breaking up. It's an amicable divorce. It's never amicable. Okay, that's just what they say. It's never actually amicable.
If the numbers are right, Beck did okay.
What, the NIL numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did fine. Good for him.
They say like $4 million. It wasn't one of the biggest.
His girlfriend also dumped him. So
that's okay. Last time I checked, there's a lot of girls in Miami.
In Miami?
I think a guy with a little bit of coin in college is going to do okay.
Yeah, I'm sure he's doing okay. I'm sure he's doing fine. I'm sure he's doing great. By the way, speaking of money, we are 3 weeks away, if my math is correct, from the Ryder Cup at Bethpage.
Oh, God, I can't wait.
They don't hand out money for that. That's why Patrick Cantlay doesn't like playing in it. He thinks it's unfair. Don't get me started on that jackass. My point is, Wayne, you and I have 3 weeks.
Speed up your play is your point.
You and I have 3 weeks to solidify the stakes because you'll remember we did this 2 years ago.
Okay, no.
You lost. You had to send me a case of golf balls. Now,
that's right. I did that.
In typical Wayne fashion, you chose. I picked the TPX TaylorMades. You sent me the case, and it was the Stars and Stripes.
Yes,
the logo balls.
I did.
So
yeah.
I don't know if they sell the European. You'll never buy these from me anyway. But if you want to re-rack that bet, the European came out. The Europeans came out with their roster. I feel very good about where I'm at. And
what's your background?
I'm talking about the European.
Shh. Have you done any of the DNA stuff? Have you done any of that, like whatever?
Like Ancestry.com, 23andMe type stuff?
Yeah.
No, man. No. But, obviously, my relatives came over on the boat. We checked into Ellis Island just like a lot of other people. So, I mean, yeah, you can trace my roots back to Europe, sure.
I am English, Irish, and Norwegian.
Okay,
so I've got some players from those countries, and believe it or not, can I say this out loud and you're going to get mad at me?
Yeah, quite a few.
I like the European team way more this year. I am so mad.
Are you coming over to the dark side? Are you coming over?
I feel like we have some boring players. You may have mentioned one.
Some.
I feel like that what kills me is part of the reason why United States sports are I just feel like there's such entitlement right now that it's a problem. And I think we need to fix this. I think we need to fix this at all levels. I think the idea that players should want to play, money should be a byproduct of how good you are. I like that. I was raised in that world. When you hear stories from Lee Trevino talking about how I would gamble at the golf course when I was a kid, and the only way I survived the day is if I won. Otherwise, he'd get beat up and left in an alleyway, and I know that it's a different world now.
That's how it should be.
But the problem is are you going to and again, I've always been a huge Rory McIlroy fan, but I have not been pleased with the way he's acted after he won the Masters. He seems like his brain kind of checked out. One of the greatest players that's ever lived. I've always loved Rory. I can listen to him talk all day. I love his swing. I love that. But it feels like he's kind of been infected with, I'm not sure if I want to be here anymore. Now, I know he'll bring it, and I love so many of these players on that team because they're just so fun to watch. But the Americans, what they really screwed up on, and I know people have maybe changed it, like stopped listening, and I apologize. Keegan Bradley took the easy way out. Because if he decides to play, which he should have, he's one of the top 12 Americans right now. He also has an energy and a passion that you see from him that you don't see from a lot of other players. Like, he actually really cares about winning. He's fought his butt off to even be in the conversation to be in a Ryder Cup, and I think he deserves it. And yet, as a captain, he knows, and this is why I think it kind of makes me mad. If he decides to play, he's in a no-win situation. Like it's like, every one of his decisions, well, if he was just being a captain, he wouldn't have put those two together, or he'd have made that decision. Or if he goes out and loses a couple of matches, it's going to look terrible. So I think he probably took the safe road on this. But either way, I wanted him on the team. I think he's exactly the kind of guy that's built for a Ryder Cup.
Well, we'll find out in 3 weeks. That is going to be a put the wife and kids to bed type of sporting event. Not because it's going to be on late at night, but because some of the language and some of the scenes that you're going to get from those Long Island jabronis is going to be like explicit. That place is going to be dangerous.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. I know. Can I go back to football real quick?
I will let you end the show with some football talk.
I'm going to end the show with this. To me, and we could talk about the AP.
Be thinking about those stakes, though. Okay, we got 3 weeks. Be thinking about.
We're going to think about it and you're going to start working really hard to get the crew to go back to a national championship game so we can handle our debts there.
Yeah. I'm working on it. I'm literally holding a bowl. I'm passing around the collection plate.
Those are some of my favorite trips of my life. Going with you and getting to see you guys and being at so I miss those. And
although the last time I went to one of those, Georgia won a national championship, so that's why I stopped going, honestly.
Anyway, the Michigan-Oklahoma game feels like it's more than just a game this weekend.
How so?
I mean, because both those teams have been reeling. Like I'm not sold on Venables as a head coach. I'm not.
Hang on, Michigan's 2 years removed from a national championship.
It doesn't matter. They got a new coach. He's not Harbaugh. Whether you guys want to get involved in cheating or not, Michigan was not good last year. They just played a game against New Mexico, and it wasn't like they destroyed them. I just feel like as a coach, you have a short leash in the modern era of college football. It's shorter than it's ever been. You don't get that 3 to 5 years. Now it's like two, maybe 3. And Venables is creeping into that territory, right? He's been there for a while, and Oklahoma hasn't even been a factor, while Texas has been. And remember, Oklahoma was the program that dominated the Big 12 for a lot of years. It wasn't Texas. It was Oklahoma. They had great teams. So when you look at Coach Moore, and you think about this, when Coach Freeman took over at Notre Dame, and he replaced Marcus Freeman, and he replaced Coach Kelly, who had moved on supposedly where he could win. Marcus Freeman's turned that into a better program. I still think even though they just lost playing a very, very young quarterback in a tough game, they're going to be really good this year. I saw enough in that game where I'm like, they're going to be really, really good this year. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, but I see that. But when I look at Michigan, after you win a national championship, you should recruit really well. You should be loaded up with talent because that winning helps you recruit. So to go from being elite to being really bad really quickly, you want to see like maybe last year because you lost a ton of players, whatever. But this is a year that if you really struggle again and you end up being a 7-8 win team and you lose, and if I had to pick the game right now, don't get mad at me, but I would take Ohio State over Michigan. I know it hasn't gone their way, and Ohio State probably should have beat them last year, but I think they break that streak. And so I just think this game is a huge game for two very proud programs. I'm not saying it's make or break because it's a big game and someone's got to lose, but I'm hopeful that they both look good. Because football is better when Oklahoma and Michigan are in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're being a little harsh on Michigan. Like Bryce Underwood's the most highly rated recruit they've ever signed at the quarterback position. I mean, he is the real deal, Wayne. Like, this dude is 6'5". He looks like
How many points did they score against New Mexico?
31. I understand. Like, I get it.
And a little bit late. I mean, it was. I know. I hope so. I like Michigan.
Oklahoma has that's a culture thing because we know what Lincoln Riley did very well, score points. We know what Brent Venables does really well, which is coach defense. And that thing has flipped 180 degrees. Now, John Mateer, Jaden Ott, they went to the portal. They're busy, bringing in guys on the offensive end. R. Mason Thomas, the defensive lineman for Oklahoma, this dude is out of control, man. He is in a whole new world. I just think on paper, you don't play the games on paper. I know. Brent Venables' defense against a true freshman quarterback, first road start.
Yep.
That's a dangerous combination for Michigan.
Well,
Still, I'm excited to see it because I think Bryce Underwood is that guy. I mean,
my favorite game of the weekend.
Yeah, it's a great game. Great game.
I love it. All I'm pointing out is I think these are moments in these programs. Like, these are moments where you could keep back to, like, schools like this don't accept the fact that they're going to struggle and lose. They like to believe that they have better players and they're going to go out and they're going to hit someone in the mouth and win these games. And so I just think it matters. Maybe you're right that it matters a little more for Oklahoma because it's at Oklahoma, right? So it probably matters a little more for Oklahoma, but Michigan's got to, they've got to start showing some growth.
In the Sharon Moore era, I agree. Listen, I have some buddies who are Michigan fans. I play golf with them. In fact, when you're listening to this episode, I will be playing golf with them on Wednesday morning.
Nice.
I told them Michigan's going to open the year 3-3, and they thought I was on drugs because I'm like, look, you got to go to Oklahoma. You got to go to Southern Cal. You got to go to Nebraska. You think you're just going to win those games? Like, those days are – I don't want to say that they're over for good, but when Harbaugh had that thing rolling, you didn't bat an eye about going to Nebraska. You didn't worry about some of these road games. And now it's a little different story. So I'm with you. I still think Michigan fans, though, and I know this to be the case, they're still looking at their banner that they hung from a season and a half ago, and they're feeling pretty good about going 15-0, beating big bad Alabama in the Rose Bowl, and then smoking Washington. Even though they cheated. Like, I mean, I'm just, look, I'm not putting an asterisk on it.
Not one of them cares either. Not one of them
cares because they went 15-0.
Yep.
But that advanced scouting, and I'm using air quotes for those of you not watching on YouTube.
Yep.
Michigan cheated their ass off.
I lived through that with USC a million years ago.
Yeah, but that was cheating in terms of paying for players. That wasn't cheating by going and getting scouting of what's coming.
Both are bad.
Play signs, calls, the whole shit. Like, that's a different – you don't think that's different?
Rules are rules. You break the rules that help you win. It's whenever you're paying a player to play for you, that player is not going to play for someone else. It's cheating.
Sure.
It's true.
Sure. I just think there's different – just like there's different penalties for breaking different laws, Wayne, right?
Yeah, getting a player's parents a place to live. That's
no.
Hang
on a second. If I go to the gas station and steal a Kit Kat bar, that's a little bit different than if I run someone over in my car.
Felony misdemeanor type stuff. I got you.
Yeah, I think
still both cheating.
I think paying for players and then sign stealing over the course of multiple seasons, I think those are different. You don't think those are different? You think
they're different, but you'd be shocked at how when a team cheats, let's just say you go by any era of a rivalry, and let's just say a team, like if you're a Michigan fan, let's just say Ohio State's cheating, like back in the 90s and 2000s or whatever, and they're cheating and they're be able to bring in players because they're getting benefits that your players aren't getting because you're trying to follow the rules, and then that team starts winning. Mm-hmm. So now you're competing against their players are getting benefits that other players are not, and they're winning. So then you're sitting there going, well, why are they having the number one recruiting class every year and we're at 15? And you're trying to complete because we all know that it's the Jimmys and Joes and the X's and O's and all that good stuff. If you don't think that impacts teams and rivalries, it does, because a lot of times they're competing for the same players.
Sure.
And so I would argue that it's still cheating. And I know we live in an era that even now with being able to pay players, but it has to go through this process of being approved. Like, there's going to be teams that are going to cheat at a high click. And as long as they're winning, their fan base is going to go, oh, who cares? So everybody's cheating. That's what they're going to say.
So when they flashed that graphic on the UNC TCU broadcast Monday night, and it showed the 3 head coaches who have won national championships in football and a Super Bowl title, and it was Barry Switzer, Jimmy Johnson, and Pete Carroll.
Yep.
And you saw that. Like, did you throw your coffee mug at the TV because you knew Pete Carroll's name shouldn't be up there?
No,
not in my record book.
No, but think about those Alabama. Think about those Miami teams. Think about again. These are great teams. I love college football. I'm not doing that. Those SC teams had so many good players on them that was ridiculous.
But they were cheating.
I will say this forever. And there's tons of teams that have won national championships that have been cheating too, right? Don't think like just because you didn't get caught. Boosters love to give players money at a lot of schools. They want to feel like they're a part of it. So it's, how much money you're spending on a recruit when you take them out at night. You don't think that coaches ever give money out of their own pocket. You're only allowed to give so much, but you don't think that ever happens? Here's an extra $100. Make sure he has a good time. Like, that stuff is happening at every school in America when we had rules. Now we don't have many rules, but there's still gonna be people that are gonna find a way because there's too much money in it. As long as the pot of gold at the end of rainbow exists, there's gonna be people out there figuring out ways to cheat to get that next. And by the way, coaches know that they're a bad season away of being gone.
Sure.
So people are fighting and scratching and clawing for their lives, and they're probably sitting there thinking, well, they're cheating, they're tampering. They're calling our players, our recruits. Do you think that all across America after one loss that people are already looking at their rosters and they have people that are trying to figure out, like, who can we go get? Which disgruntled athlete can we go pry away from their current school? And do you think they're finding people out there that can go talk to them? Yes.
Probably.
It's happening every day. It's probably happening right now.
Probably.
Someone's talking to someone they're not supposed to probably right now.
But you know what, Wayne? When I wake up in the morning, I still put my underwear on one leg at a time, okay? That's all you need to know, okay? That's just how I'm wired, okay? So it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't. How about you? Are you a one-leg man or are you a two-leg man?
No, who jumps into their freaking you sit on the couch and put them on, what do you do? I mean, on the bed? What do you do? One leg at a time, and I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes I get a little unsturdy. You ever get your foot caught as you're going through, and then you kind of wobble a little bit, and you have to put a foot down?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes I lose my balance.
Sometimes that's what the edge of the bed is for. That's what that little stool is for. That's part of what it's for at the end of the bed.
We're done,
folks.
and
That's
thank
the
you
show.
for joining. Yeah,
that's the show. Wayne and I could do this all day. I mean, he's got his own personal record book. I mean, some of these national championships just don't count because these teams have been cheating.
Yeah.
Thanks to Phil Steele, I could literally do this all day with you, but I'm not going to. I'm glad that you got this out of your system. Okay, I hope you attack Wednesday with vim and vigor, Wayne, because you needed this. You needed
quarterbacks,
this
3, 5, 7-step drop from under center. Work on it. It'll change your life. Step into your stinking throws. Follow through towards your target. Let's go.
Why don't you do what Uncle Rico did? Get the camcorder, put it on a tripod, angle it towards the van, and just start showing people how it's supposed to be done. Okay?
Over them hills.
Nothing's stopping you. You could still throw a football over the mountains if you needed to. Thanks to Phil Steele. Thanks to Wayne Cook. I'm Hartzell. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for listening.